Hi and welcome to another SCAR Divi preview video. In this video I will be showcasing some of the new changes I've made to SCAR Divi 3.35 pre-alpha. Now the first thing I'd like to point out is that as I mentioned in a previous video, the clone and activate methods of the tscar window client class have now been moved into tscar client. So you no longer have to cast your window client from a tscar client to a tscar window client to access these methods. Just to show you an example, you can call clone directly on the tscar client that's returned by get client, and to show you it's a cloned client, I'll free it so that works, and this still doesn't. And of course the activate function method will also work. So if I select that SCAR client, activate, of course activate, that works just as expected. Now another change is that the I think it was desktop client or desktop window function, which was available previously to get a client based on the desktop window. This has now been removed, and it has been replaced with the get desktop WND or window function, which is available in the window API. So now you can create a desktop client, and I'll demonstrate it with set client here with T by creating a tscar window client with the get desktop WND function to get the desktop handle for the handle for a desktop window. And I'll demonstrate this by moving my mouse to a coordinate 100 100 relative to the desktop. I'll first select the debug box here. As you can see, those coordinates should be around here somewhere, that general area. And I'll just uncouple my mouse here and run this. As you can see, the cursor is moved to the coordinates relative to the desktop window. Now, as I've mentioned, get desktop WND is part of the new window API. This is still under construction, but I've already added several methods to it. Another function is the get shell WND function. Get shell window returns the window handle of the shell window, which is basically the backmost window on your monitor. The desktop window is actually overlain over this. The desktop window is the window which contains the taskbar with your start button on the bottom. So if you have, for example, two monitors and the taskbar only shows on one of them, the desktop client window selected as the desktop will only select the monitor which has the taskbar and not any of your other monitors, whereas the shell window is the entire plane. However, do keep in mind that when you capture the shell window, you will only capture the actual shell window and not the desktop window which is printed over there. So you will just get your background and none of the windows which are over there. So this could only really be useful as a client to get your screen dimensions, well, of all your screens combined anyway. So after that, next function I would like to take a look at is the new find windows function. Now, as the name suggests, this will find a window for you, and similar functions were available previously. This is a very basic function which just requires a title. Now I'm going to test this out on Notepad, so just enter the default Notepad title in there. Now this returns a THWND array, which is an array of HWND, which SCAR translates to a T long word, to a long word, sorry, and these are just this is just an array of the window handles. I guess this would probably also work with a t-int array, but this is dedicated for this particular application, so I suggest you use the THWND array. So I'm going to print out the results here to show you that it actually works. Let's just get the length of that array. Let's go WNDS. Okay, and let's just loop through that with a little for loop. Okay, so obviously if I run this now, nothing is printed out because I don't have any notepad windows opened. Now I'll just open Notepad here, and as you can see it prints out a window handle. Now this is the window handle of this Notepad window. If I open a second one, it prints out the original handle from this window here and the new handle for this window. If I close both of them, it prints out none once again. I'll just open that back up there. The next function I'm going to take a look at is the find Windows X function. As you might guess, this is the extended version of the find Windows function, and as you can see it has quite a lot more parameters than the find Windows function. Now the first parameter is the parent window parameter, and this requires you to enter a parent window within which you are trying to search for another window. In this case, like the find Windows function, I will be using get desktop WND. So you're searching for child windows of your desktop window, which is basically, well, under normal circumstances, every window you have opened. Next, I'm going to simply enter Notepad, lowercase, as a title, because do keep in mind that Find Windows requires you to enter the full title and case-sensitive title for the window title. So just Notepad there. Now you can also search by class name, and if you don't know what that is, you should look it up. Every window basically has a class name next to its window title, and the class name is an identifier of the type of window. So in this case we don't want to look for the class name, so we just pass an empty string for that. If you pass an empty string for the title, it will basically match any window, since you don't have a title specified. Of course, you can only look for the class name as well, or you could, if you pass two empty strings, it would just return every window, which is a child window of the desktop window in this case. So that's useful if you, for example, would like to enumerate all of the windows which are a child window of a specific window you are working with. Now the next parameter is the recursive search parameter, and I will take a closer look at it later. For now, let's set that to the default false. Next you have case sensitivity. Of course, we don't want that right now. And partial match, which means you can look for a part of the title of the window rather than the entire title. So I'm going to set that to true, because we just have Notepad in here. And when I run this, it should detect the single Notepad window there, and it returns just one handle, which is this Windows handle. Now if I open another Notepad window, you'll see it works just fine. If, for example, I were to save this, save it to my desktop, you see that the title here changes, but since I'm just looking for Notepad, it still works. Of course, if I change this back to untitled, it will only get the handle for the first window here. Now, I mentioned before that I would explain the recursive search parameter. Now, recursive search basically means that you are going to search not only for client windows of the window you have here as parent window, but you're also going to search recursively for client windows of those clients and so on. So basically what that means, and I'm going to demonstrate this with my crosshair here, this is the desktop window in the back, of course, so you can't really see the selection because it falls outside of the screen boundaries. But if I move this over SCAR, then you will see that SCAR is selected as a client. Well, if I let my mouse button go, of course. Now, this is basically because SCAR is a client window of the desktop. So if I were to select this, I would have SCAR, which is the client window of the desktop. But if I move my cursor over something in SCAR, for example, the toolbars here, or the editor, or anything, these are not client windows of the desktop, but rather these are client windows, and mostly client windows of client windows, and so on, of SCAR itself. So when you have the recursive search set to false, it will not ever check these internal windows. While you can check these if you set it to true, but do keep in mind that this uses a depth first search to check all of the windows, and it takes considerably longer, usually about 2 or 3 times longer if you don't have too many windows open, to actually check all of the windows, certainly for your desktop. Now, of course, this could be very useful if you're looking inside of a particular window where you want to find something by class name or anything like that. But in this case, it would be fairly pointless, and I will also demonstrate a rather curious property of this. So if I set this to true, and I'm going to open my little notepad window here, and I run this, you will see that not 1 but 2 handles are printed out. Now there's a very good reason for this, and when I close this notepad window, it will still print out single one, and this particular handle, as you can see, is the same handle as my editing area here. So this is because when you get the title of a window for an edit window like this, the actual contents of the window is the title. Now this is because of this, of course, it detects this notepad word here as part of the title, and this could be avoided if you really would want to use this by just adding some extra comments or code above this. And when I run this now, you'll see it won't print out anything. And this is simply because it only detects the first 256 characters for the window title. This should normally obviously be more than plenty. But if it would detect the entire title, obviously if you, for example, have a long document open in Notepad, or you have a huge script in SCAR, this would seriously increase the search time, as it would have to search the entire window text each time for your title part.